Hello everybody, it's Holger Mueller from Constellation Research here welcoming you to episode number 86. Can you imagine this? 86. Where was the World Cup in 1986, Liz? Soccer
Where
World Cup?
was the World Cup in 1986?
I give hints.
Oh, shoot.
For them.
Yeah, because all I'm thinking is Los Angeles, but that was 92, 93.
Four.
94.
It was a neighboring country to the US.
Canada. Mexico.
Canada never hosted the World Cup.
Hawaii.
50-50. Mexico, of course, 1986. Who was in the final?
Well, not the US.
Not the US. Repeat of the 1990 final, but a different winner.
Repeat of the 1990 final, but a different winner.
Brazil, 86 and 90. Sorry?
Brazil, Sweden? Brazil, Argentina.
No. Brazil, Sweden, that's like a century ago. Like it was the 50s. No, Germany against Argentina. Argentina won in Mexico, and 4 years later, 1990, when we have episode 90, we'll test your long-term memory. Germany won in Italy against Argentina.
No, that'll be gone. It'll be
People
gone. But you know what?
Really know this.
People do really want to know this, but you want to know what they want to know more, Holger? They want to know about the news. So let's get at it. Hey, lots of stuff has been swirling. It's like summer is winding down and everyone realizes that silly season is about to start. We're going to talk about event silly season in a little bit. But Holger, what news is taking up your days?
It's totally chip related these days, right? So all the chip companies having their announcements. None bad news, unfortunately, out of Intel. I like history, right? There's this history picture, the picture of the sick man from the Bosporus, which was the Ottoman Empire. I jokingly say the sick man from the Bay Area, that's Intel. So unfortunately, significant layoffs. Looks like Pat Geltner and team couldn't make it work without that. Let's wish them good luck. There's good news out of it. They're having a major automotive chip platform launch happening right now in all places in China, which happened just yesterday. So things are happening on the chip side, definitely, right? Global Foundries had a good quarter. Doing low-end cost chips, so not growing as much, doing no AI, but things are happening on the chip side. Equinix going up the stack to the data center side, solid quarter there.
Yeah.
Positive from that, but not a blow-up quarter, right? It's clearly that the big expansion for all the AI compute is happening in the public cloud. They just announced their first public liquid cooling cloud, and there's a dozen or so across the public cloud vendors already, because the next generation of AI will require liquid cooling. Air cooling is not enough. Yeah, but that's pretty much.
Yeah, and then a lot of people keep asking if people want water on the floors of their data center, and I'm like, no, that's what we're talking about, people. Like, you're not just going to pour a cup of water on the floor. It's okay. Like, everyone calm down. But liquid cooling, not exactly what that. But
we know how important hydration is, huh? Little inside joke.
Yeah, that is true. Things have decided to go absolutely wacky in the world of CX and marketing, certainly, and advertising, certainly getting hit. Last week, Google finding out the first of many antitrust cases that are being brought against the giant. Listen, the first one kind of ended very quickly with one line that says Google is monopolizing. They're a monopoly. So the first case that was brought against Google was specific to search advertising and text search within their text ads in search. So it really boiled down to a lot of the exclusive agreements for distribution that came through. Interestingly enough, a lot of people's attention, rather than ever really wanting to zero in on what impact this is going to have on Google, everyone decided to go and figure out what type of impact this was going to have on Apple. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen with Apple? And the sky is falling for Apple, and isn't this terrible?" But like, if we just all return our gaze back to Google for just a minute, it is yet another stark reminder that Google's revenue is advertising based and Google's revenue is data based. They are reliant and dependent on all of that revenue maintaining in order to keep innovating on things like Google Cloud. Quite frankly, Google Cloud is not going to continue to be, 8, 9, 10, 11% of your revenue base and continue to get the level of R&D, to get the level of investment, if the advertising business does not stay robust and does not stay steady and continuously growing. So these cases coming out as negative for Google have a bit of a bigger impact than people really want to admit, because everyone wants to think that the worst thing that happened in the release of this case is that Apple got caught in the crosshairs. Next case starts, actually bench trial starts on this in September. So case number 2 that has more to do about the data that's being collected and a lot of the data in the back end of what people are considering a monopolized walled garden. That's going to be a big one that comes too. Holger, you had a thought?
No, it's just pretty funny, right? You remember, like, one Instagram is 1 billion, right? You have to say fair enough. If Google Cloud manages to do 10 billion a quarter, right? Half of Google Cloud profit could pay for the Apple 20 billion, right? So, and the other interesting observation is, right, a monopolist normally is bad for people. Yeah, there's nobody saying what Google is doing is bad for people, and there's a clear preference of people.
That's not fair. That's actually not a fair statement. People are not saying that it's bad. What's happening is bad for people at Google Cloud or people involved in Google technology. But there are plenty of people who say that what has been happening at Google and the monopolization of not only how algorithms work, but how that data is then parsed and how that data is used and collected. There are a lot of critiques and a lot of criticisms of Google. Now, the other side of that is that Google has also done a whole lot of good in advancing things like digital search, like digital algorithms, like all of that. So I don't think it's fair to say that people haven't said that that's happening. I think there have been a lot. I think that in the pure tech world that we often exist in, that criticism doesn't come up. But in the broader world of business, and especially in advertising, it absolutely comes up.
Right, but the advertising fear of being, but you can investigate Google as a monopoly for advertisement, right? If they do bad monopoly practices, which you first have to prove, right? The interesting thing is that
they're now guilty of.
Not by paying Apple, who enables the monopoly.
That's simply a part of the case. That's one, but here's the thing, Holger, that was one part of a much larger case. And in the entirety of the larger case, they were found to be guilty of of violating the Sherman Act. And the second case, it's a lot bigger. So it's a separate case, but it is a lot bigger. I will say that these cases do certainly have a far-reaching impact on a lot of organizations and how they are not only constructing their distribution contracts and their partnerships across the advertising and the marketing ecosystem, but it's certainly also going to have a whole lot of ramifications in how you are setting up the processes and the plans for sharing and engaging in kind of these data ecosystems. So this is going to have a lot of reverberation across all of this. I think what's also interesting is, like, last week, listen, it was a case of, like, the courts, if the courts could charge by word or by page, they would have made a lot of money, because Elon Musk just got he got the lawsuit machine out. He was just cranking out the lawsuits. But a lot of those lawsuits, unfortunately, were covering up a lot of lawsuits and investigations that are heading his way. X
but he also, to be fair, right, to be fair to Elon, he offered to drop the OpenAI lawsuit, right?
Yeah, right.
There must be some for litigation.
He started the week. He started the week by suing OpenAI for not doing what he wanted them to do. Then he ended. He's got to the middle of the week. We got to Hump Day last week with Elon being really mad that advertisers who he had told to F off like 3 months ago listened to him, and then did, and now he's mad at that. So. The case is actually kind of interesting the way that it's been constructed. It is built as a proposed class action lawsuit claiming that a group of advertisers, along with a trade association that is based in the EU, has created a monopoly and instigated illegal boycotts against Twitter, or now X. And that is why they are suing, and they're looking for financial relief in the billions of dollars because of this illegal action, or what they allege is an illegal action, then caused billions of dollars in advertising loss. What's fascinating is the reaction that the brands have had, which, quite frankly, I think the courts are also going to have too. And many folks who are antitrust lawyers also agree, listen, this probably is not going to go very far. But Unilever's head said, listen, there is only one group that decides where Unilever's advertising goes, That's Unilever. So the idea that, the overlords of advertising are coming for me, when, as someone who had been with an industry organization and an industry association for a very long time, groups like this do a lot of really great work. They lobby a lot of organizations. They put pressure on a lot of organizations that are doing things that end up from a regulatory standpoint, not working in the favor of the consumer or of brand advertisers. But one of the things they don't do is sit around thinking all day, how can I destroy a company? So these lawsuits feel a little bit odd. I think the oddest thing for me from a news headline is just how far into this argument their CEO and X's CEO, Linda Yaccarino, has gone. She is a long time, decades long advertising industry sales executive and leader, having been with NBC, having been, through all of the Comcast and Universal and all of those mergers, really building a new advertising standard for that organization. So now to read her statement on X about kind of misunderstanding how advertising is bought was a little bit shocking. But I think that there is an important conversation to be had here with, listen, advertisers, if this lawsuit does go forward, we're probably going to have to pay attention. But yeah, if you don't want to advertise on X, don't advertise on X.
Selective memory is very position dependent, right? So, but
talk
about advertisement, right? Last week already, NBC made up on the money on advertisement goals on Wednesday or something, like 4 or 5 days in, and we're still seeing these commercials. So my only hope is, right, we're all being trained for the next Olympic discipline for 2028 in LA, which is watching TV commercials. How to dodge them, how to jump forward, which multi-view doesn't do commercials, how to jump before the commercial comes on, the multi-view is locked to another channel and maximize it. It's going to be Olympic. I can see a couple of new disciplines. I'm lobbying to my friend Thomas Bach on the Olympic committee. I'm surprised he's still there, but he was there. He was a good thing. So let's see if I can pull a German connection to make watching commercials on streaming TV in Olympics.
I love it. It's
an esport. It's an esport. It should work.
It's an esport, but here is the big sport that's coming out of, and big news coming out of Constellation Research. ShortList season is here, everyone, because if it is the end of summer, it's ShortList. Listen, first batch, I'm pretty sure, is launching, and we're gonna have some fun with it. As everyone should remember, ShortLists, of course, are those, wait for it now, short lists of vendors within very specific categories that we have gone and done all of the work to figure out how to pare down some of these categories. At Holger, I don't know, but some of mine include, upwards of 30, 40, 50 vendors who are trying to make a name for themselves, within very specific spaces. We go through them all, so you guys don't have to. So check those out in the ShortList library by going to constellationnr.com and visiting the ShortList overview to see that list. There's also going to be an amazing blog that comes out that shows kind of the first group and the second group. We do release them in 2 waves, but you're also going to get a chance to hear from Holger on one of his short lists. And we're also going to hear from some other folks. So listen, hang tight. We've got an amazing episode coming up, and then Holger and I are going to give you a little preview into what is known affectionately around these parts as Event Silly Season.
Hey folks, Doug Henschen of Constellation Research, and it's that time of year again, shortlist update time. Constellation publishes more than 140 shortlists. They're your free guides that help you narrow down your text selections and save you time. I'm updating 9 of my shortlists with this round here in August 2024. And today I'm going to talk about 4 of those shortlists, all focused on the area of analytics and BI, one of my favorite topics. So let's kick it off here, and we'll start with multi-cloud analytics and business intelligence platforms. Here we're looking at analytics and BI platforms that are offered as software as a service or managed services on 2 or more public clouds. The multi-cloud options bring analytics to your center of data gravity, reducing the friction and cost involved in data access and data movement. And on the list for 2024 are Domo, which is available both on AWS and Azure, Google Looker, which surprisingly is available as software as a service on AWS and Azure, as well as Google Cloud, MicroStrategy, which is a container-based managed service available on 3 or more major public clouds, SaaS visual analytics, part of the VIA platform, also container managed service. And then ThoughtSpot, available as SaaS. ThoughtSpot Cloud is available on AWS and Google, and also has a marketplace offering on Azure. On this list, a drop from this list that's been on the list in the past was IBM Cognos and Spotfire. Haven't seen a lot of investment from them, so they're off that short list for 2024. Next up, augmented analytics and business intelligence. Here we're talking about computer assistance for analysis. So smart data discovery and analysis capabilities, including automated discovery, recommended tables and sources, recommended visualizations. Also looking there at intent-driven recommendations based on behavior patterns seen in the use and usage and access to data, and how and where its data is being used by user, by group, by role, by permissions, and item popularity and data source popularity. And then finally, integration of, can't escape it, cutting-edge generative AI capabilities. Here it's being used for code generation, for data prep, and for natural language-based query analysis and explanations. And on the short list for 2024, a new player, first time on one of my BI shortlist, Amazon QuickSight, which has added Gen AI in the form of Amazon Q in QuickSight. It was actually formerly QuickSight Q, now part of the larger Amazon Q Gen AI family. This is the availability of that Gen AI service within QuickSight. Longtime members on the list also pursuing Gen AI would include Power BI, Microsoft's product, Oracle Analytics Cloud, ClickSense, SAP Analytics Cloud, Tableau, and ThoughtSpot. Next up, let's look at embedded analytics. And here I'm not talking about just embedded analytics for ISVs and software as a service companies. There are so many different types of companies now that are developing internal or customer-facing software or services. They don't even consider themselves to be software vendors or SaaS vendors, but here they are in need of embedded capabilities. And there we're looking at microservices architectures, fine-grained REST APIs, software development kits, so you can flexibly embed data, metrics, visualizations, dashboards into a range of applications and services. And also more on the cutting edge is support for DevOps approaches that really bridge the gap between development and operations and help you automate continuous integration and continuous development. So on my short list for 2024, embedded analytics would include Domo, Google Looker, Microsoft Power BI, ClickSense, Sisense, Tableau, and ThoughtSpot. And a drop from this list this time around was MicroStrategy and Oracle Analytics Cloud, though I did add OAC to a new list that I have in the BI and analytics category, and that is embedded analytics platforms for cloud applications. Here I'm looking at a platform that has an approach for managing application data and embedding visualizations, KPIs, dashboards into key decision points within ERP, CRM, HCM, and other cloud-based applications. And this gives you a unified data modeling, access control, governance approach, and two-way contextual interactivity between the apps and the analytics. And on my short list here for 2024 is Infor Burst and its integration with Infor Cloud Suites, Microsoft Power BI and integrations with Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Power Apps, Oracle Analytics Cloud and its integrations with Oracle Fusion Cloud applications, SAP Analytics Cloud and its integrations with SAP applications, of course, Salesforce CRM Analytics, obviously, part of well embedded within Salesforce apps, and then finally Zoho Analytics embedding within Zoho applications. Well, that's it for my latest analytics and BI shortlist updates. To see all of our shortlists, visit constellationr.com/shortlist, and I wish you the best of success with your tech selections.
Okay, we're back. And to close out this episode of CRTV, we're going to talk about a time of year that Holger and I dread, love, wait for. I don't even know what we say about this, but it is, as we head out of summer, we head smack dab into fall event silly season. It is the time of year when every vendor throws out any level of calendar. We ignore that we can search on the Google machine. We just avoid all of it, and we plan all of our events for the exact same 8-week time period that everyone else does. We analysts, we defy the laws of nature. We end up being in 9 cities at once, and darn it, we love it. Holger, where are you heading this fall?
Yeah, and then the attentive listener was saying, like, don't you have a spring season? Why is it not so bad? It's not so bad because of Easter and Easter vacation. And there's a 2-week break in spring season. That is missing in fall season. So it's September, October, November till Thanksgiving. It's not even 9 weeks or 8 weeks. It's going to be 10 weeks, right? So I'm starting off. I'm starting off from all places which we never go to, which is of course Las Vegas, with an Oracle Cloud World.
Ooh, take pictures. Tell me what it looks like.
Yes, you haven't been since ages, right? It's kind of like, I don't know. Seattle, no, wait, we just haven't been to Seattle, right? And then I go there back again next week because the other ERP vendor or HCM vendor, Workday, has a conference equally there. Oh, wait, I'm saying something wrong. Are they in Orlando this year? You tell about what you're doing. I need to double check.
Okay, well, listen, this is my fault. I am volleying between like Orlando, Seattle. I'm doing a lot of Orlando and Seattle, so it's a lot of that. You go into the right place?
No, Workday is in Las Vegas, thank God. I hate going to Orlando in the Florida swamps. So
it is not fun, but I'm not gonna lie. I think my flight pattern ends up being New York, Boston, San Francisco, Orlando. I think I actually end up with a week off, but so my September is really going to be all about Sprinkler, a little bit about Emphasis. Of course, we've got Salesforce Dreamforce that is going to be up in the Bay Area at the beautiful Moscone Center, turned into a forest in the middle of the street. Verint, the folks in the CCaaS and AI automation space are going to be having a customer conference that I'll be speaking at in Orlando, so we'll have some fun there. Then it's back up to Seattle for some time with our friends at Smartsheet. Going to spend some time with our friends over at AWS. And then Adobe Max does something that Adobe Max does not normally do. Adobe Max normally, in silly season, lets me come home for a week, where I get to sit in Los Angeles and be comfy. And I just get to drive to the hotel because I don't want to fight traffic. And the team at Adobe is really sweet and they get me a room. No, this year,
it's in Las Vegas. No, just kidding.
No, it's not in Las Vegas. We're going to Miami, everyone. So I'm going to see all you creative peeps for all of our font classes there in Miami. Can't wait for that. Then I head to all places Africa. It's a long trip, but right after that, I head to Africa for CCaaS and CCaaS and Communications and CX player. NICE is doing an event in Africa.
It's a longer trip, Liz.
That's an even longer trip.
Than Miami.
But then we get to both finally actually see each other face to face in Half Moon Bay. That's right. End of October, the week of Halloween, we're going to be at CCE for Constellation's annual shindig of absolute disruption and technology chaos. We'll be at CCE end of October. And then we start to round things off. We start to head into things like
wait. You've missed my October. You've missed my October.
Because you're October. What are you doing?
Where I'm going to be in the first week of October. Of course, I'm going to be in Las Vegas for Inform, right? No question. Las Vegas for Inform.
Oh, yeah.
And then the week after, we're going to be together. Well, it's going to be double dipping Orlando. Everybody has to go to Orlando once, right? For iSolve Connect. Then I have to hike to Seattle, like diagonally across the country. I love these. No non-stops for that. And then it's going to be Microsoft, right?
Yeah,
and IBM
I think there's a lot.
The week after. And then we have CCE.
Here's what I want to know.
Yep.
Yeah, CCE. Here's what I want to know, Holger.
Yep.
Prediction. Throw a little prediction out there for what we're going to expect in event silly season, right? The first half of the year, spring silly season, was kind of like this dialogue, at least for me, of this is where AI meets the road. Like last year, we went through 2 seasons of like AI, glitter, amazing, right? This past silly season was like AI, where we got to then.
Now it's in our product. It doesn't look so anymore,
yeah,
right? So,
it's AI. So we saw a couple more customers getting involved in some conversations. We started to see some more use cases that were a little bit more solid. Started to see some of the questions emerge. But the summer has really brought about a lot of CIOs, CDOs. I know certainly in my case across CX, starting to ask a lot harder questions about the tangible value of AI that's coming out. Now that we're starting to see what some of this cost is going to be, we're starting to see some of those payment structures start to take hold. So what do you think fall silly season is going to be about? What's the theme?
Oh, it's still going to be AI because from the cycle of the year, the user conference of all my HCM vendors are in fall. Right? So SuccessFactors is in fall, Workday is in fall, Dayforce and UKG are in the same week, luckily cooperated, so we can go only one time to Vegas as a twofer. It's fantastic.
Nice.
Infor mentioned that, right? This is in the second half of the year. Who am I missing? That's it pretty much on the HCM side, right? So everybody.
So you think it's still going to be talking about applications, or are they going to start talking about like results and values? Like, are we there yet with these conferences, or are we still going to have to wait another cycle?
Great question. Depends where the vendor is. I think we'll see a mixed bag. But for the vendors who knew that their conference in fall, they try to have a rich product announcement now, so customers can't technically be live on it, but there might be some better early pilot customers to certain things, right? So it was much more compressed schedule for anybody in the first half, right? We saw ADP is the only HCM vendor in the first half, and they had customer examples already, but I mean, the ADP will have a new release in fall either, right? Which have much more capabilities than what they had in spring, right? Because everybody's moving fast on that, right? Actually, I expect a lot on that with the first conference I have in September on the Oracle side, which kind of like has an interesting pool position to set the bar. How much AI is there going to be across applications in the second half? And everybody's going to measure like, oh, you're doing more than Oracle, or you're doing less than Oracle. Good job, you're doing as much as Oracle, or whatever it is.
And then we end with AWS, right? We end with reInvent. So that's usually kind of the end, or at least the end pull of everyone's kind of silly season. So that's going to be interesting to kind of have those two things buttressed up against each other. What are you hoping? Are you hoping for any surprises? Because I'm not going to lie. Like the last year, at least at most conferences, like the year before, every once in a while in the fall, you'd get the surprise, usually of an acquisition. And they were kind of big, they were kind of splashy, but that's when those would start to happen. So you'd start to be at those conferences and it'd be like, we're going to buy something huge, right? And you would at least get that excitement and that momentum. You'd start to see customers get excited about that. We haven't really seen that in the last year. Really, money stopped being cheap, so that didn't become part of the conversation. But like for me, I'm kind of hoping we get a couple, of those, because I think from the excitement level, certainly from a lot of the customer conferences, they're going to be excited to see each other. They're going to be excited to see the use cases, but there's not going to be that artificial excitement over the newness of AI. So, like when these events are trying to create that buzz and excitement, sometimes big acquisitions bring excitement, or a new CEO, like something. Like I'm hoping for something that brings that buzz back. What do you hope for?
I'm not sure if, buzz I would love to have, right? I'm not sure if we see acquisitions because money is expensive, right? So everybody in the 1 billion or so range really is trying to figure out profitability. And for the big guys, things are rolling. Right? There's no need. I mean, Amazon, will they buy someone big? Probably not. Google tried a few big acquisitions. They even walked away, right, from Wix recently, right? So I don't see Microsoft doing something because things are rolling for them. It's execution time. What I hope for is last year should have been the year of quantum. If this AI thing wouldn't have taken all the attention, headlines and so on away. I hope for, because IBM is supposedly on track to deliver the Lego principal quantum computer, and there's more stuff happening also in quantum if you take it all away. So I hope we have a quantum comeback in the second half of the year, because everything's slotted for November, December to catch 2024 revenue for these new machines. So it's interesting to contract that. The software year is set to go around the conferences because you want to have the big news there, right? Should be interesting stuff coming from Salesforce, also very early, right? Salesforce and Oracle kind of like set the bar there. And Workday, if you want, from my perspective. And the rest is kind of like to match it. Whereas the hardware guys are really backed up to the end, right? We had the slip of NVIDIA. We didn't talk about in the news segment, right? So this might be even a 2025 conversation now. So,
yeah. Well, I think more than anything.
We have a ticking time bomb, right? And the ticking time bomb is somebody comes up with an algorithm or expands the super popular transformer algorithm to be able to look inside of transactions. because everything that matters to the enterprise is in transaction systems. Now, the irony is that what it does right now, it reads things generated out of a transactional system, right? You get an offer letter, it's all transactional data that matters, just human readable, right? Because, hey, we sent you one record in our HR system, please approve or not approve, right? Please fill in the checkbox if you started putting your date by yourself, right? So whenever that happens, then all hell will break loose, but it will be slower because the consequences, if you can decide who to hire, how much to pay people, which marketing plan to execute, which lead to follow. There's real world consequence of it and has to be a little better tuned, so it will not go as fast as a document-centric work, but it will happen and will be substantial. If you have, I predict we'll see 3, 4, 5, even 10 times more of the AI hype, where again, all roadmaps will be thrown out. Are you doing transactional-based AI? Or whatever it's going to be called. They have to come up with the buzzwords.
I think people want to. I think people want to go there. Yeah, I think people want to go there, but I think the reality also is that new. Listen, people don't realize the building's on fire until they're literally getting burned. Sometimes, especially in business, that's absolutely true of AI. People are kind of running towards the cool, and they don't realize they're literally on fire. So I think I totally agree with you. I just think that people are going to have to be on fire before they really figure out not only that they need the transactional, but also like, oh God, it's going horribly wrong. So I think that's going to be a balancing act there. Well, listen, Holger, you and I are going to be on the road for, about like 10 weeks. I'm going to enjoy these next couple of weeks that I still get to be at home. So I'm going to savor those. But hey, for everyone out there on the road during silly season, stop by, say hi. Holger will be wearing a logo, jacket on his back. I will be wearing purple because I don't do that. But otherwise, come by, say hey, see what we're doing. But for this episode of CRTV, from Holger, from myself, listen, we are logging out. Next week, I'm telling you this right now, you got it, not next week, but in 2 weeks, tune in. You're going to see a different face on CRTV.
Totally
I'm
different.
just going to say, it's a totally different, it's a new era. We're saying goodbye to one host. We might be saying hello to another. It's stuff. Things are happening. Tune in. I'm not going to ruin the surprise for you, but episode 87 is going to be a trip. We're going to be back for episode 88.
For those who will waste any sleep on this, don't worry. We'll be swapping a German last name out for a German last name. Let's see if somebody listens to it and doesn't guess that.
Spoiler alerts. Spoilers, Holger. Stop that. Shame on you.
It's complicated. You have to figure out which are German last names at Constellation.
No one does. No one does.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see if anybody listens and finds out from the segments. Yep.
Believe it or not, these were not the bloopers starting, everyone. This was the end of the episode. We'll see you next time. Don't mind me. I'm just redoing my background. Yeah, I'm just moving things around just to fuck with Holger. Don't mind me.
Pause in the downstairs office?
Pause it everywhere. God, you sentient asshole. Not you, Holger, my house. Okay, here's the funny part. When I just told it to stop with the music and SIRI over there, how to get yelled at, it ended up pausing whatever my husband was watching down on his Apple TV downstairs in his office. So he's probably like, why did my TV show just stop? Because I'm like, yes, pause everything, you be quiet. Like yelling at it. Yeah, it shut down everyone's entertainment in the entire home. I could just sit here all like afternoon just pausing the show just to think there's something horribly, horribly wrong with our internet or the Apple TV. I could just be like, oh, Plex server down? Boop. I just keep messing with it. Trampoline as an Olympic sport. Who knew? Who knew? I am fascinated by that a paleontologist won the trampoline medal. Like that this is what she has bucked all natural convention of what all of our parents told us at some point in our lives by saying, go get a real job. You can't study dinosaurs all day, right? Like what is studying dinosaurs? What do you mean you're going to study dinosaurs? They're all dead, right? Like, so that's what she does. And then you're not an athlete. You jump on a trampoline. She basically has given the finger to the entire world. This is what's fascinating me more than anything in the Olympics. Snoop Dogg. I am so in love with Snoop Dogg's commentary on everything. That's the only way I want to watch any sporting event
hit or miss.
Ever again. I love him. Reagan officially is like, why am I playing soccer? This sport is lame. That lady threw that other lady across the field. And I'm like, okay, honey, maybe that's not why we want to play rugby. Oh, hey, what are we doing here today? What's going on today?
Yep.
This is
What are we talking about?
Ah! Switch us.
Yes. Is episode mentioned correct? Episode? Did I say it right? Episode?
Yes.
Okay.
88, 86. Oh God, I can't even count at this point. I need a panini. No one's listening to us, Holger. That's I don't know why you keep running these experiments. No one is listening to us. Listen, if someone was actually listening to us, they would at the very end of the episode post a comment onto YouTube, let's say, and just write one word. Farfignugan. Farfignugan was a commercial run by Volkswagen in the early 90s, where they talked about how that made in America, like the people didn't want to buy these cars that weren't made in America. And what's this Farfignugan that they have? And it was this whole like Volkswagen campaign from the 90s. Oh yeah. What does Farfignugan mean? It means driving pleasure.
Time in this country, Liz, you can't hold this against me.
They say that the definition, that Volkswagen said that the definition of Farfignugan was that it brought driving pleasure. So if people were actually listening to us, if people were actually paying attention and caring about what we say to them in CRTV, someone's going to go into YouTube and they're just going to write the word.
Oh, now I'm getting, it's German. Your pronunciation. It's Farvergnügen.
Oh my gosh.
It's an umlaut. Okay, Liz, say it one more time without trying to fix it. Say it how you said it.
Oh.
Whatever. It sounds like Scandinavian to me.
Take this pen and jab it in my eye and then just die.
Umlaut is always long. It's not Müller, it's Müller.
That's what I think I should do at the end of every meeting. I should be like, oh my God, thanks everyone for being here.